What's up, guys? If you're thinking about launching a new cosmetics and personal care ingredient, there are 5 things you need to be thinking about right now. Number 1, the INCI name stands for International Nomenclature of Cosmetics Ingredients. Those are the standard names on the back of the bottle that you'll see. And this system is administered by the PCPC, Personal Care Product Council. These are not exact chemical names. They don't map exactly to CAS numbers or UPAC names, anything like that. So there's a degree of judgment involved. First thing you got to think about is, does your product fit into an existing INCI name? There are pros and cons to that, as we'll see in the next section. You also need to think about how the name sounds, what it conveys to your customers, and how they think it conveys to their consumers. If you've got a friendly customer, you can bounce ideas off. I really encourage you to do that. I also encourage you to get expert advice, and please do not leave this up to the technical department. This is a very high level company-wide decision. Your marketing folks especially need to be involved in the INCI name process and decision. Number 2, China. Not just a big market, it also has a relatively new cosmetic ingredient law, which has become very influential. It came into effect January of 2021, the CSAR law. Many large companies, many global companies will require your ingredient to be China compliant before they will buy commercial quantities of it. Now, there are a number of ways to get China approved. The first way is if you're fortunate and your ingredient's INCI name is already on the IECIC list, that's the inventory of existing cosmetic ingredient components. If your name is on that list, then great. That saves you a lot of time and energy. One of the advantages of going with an existing INCI name, if you can, if it fits. If not, there is a process through which you go, and there's various testing and information that's required. It will, to a large extent, depend. One of the key distinctions is your ingredient a polymer or not under the CSAR regulation? If it's a polymer, there is less information and testing required. If it's not a polymer, there's a very good chance that animal testing will be required. Now, there is a way to get around that requirement for animal testing if you don't wish to do that. Many companies don't. And one way around that is to demonstrate to the CSAR authorities that your ingredient has 3 years worth of well-documented use in cosmetic applications outside of China. And so that 3 years worth of data is very important, enables you to do testing excluding the animal testing. Again, it's very important to get expert advice here before going down the path with CSAR, and to really think through from beginning to end how you're going to approach that regulatory system. Number 3 is REACH. That's the European Union's regulation for chemical substances. If your product is already registered under REACH, that's great. You still have to go ahead but sign up to the consortium of the existing manufacturers or importers. If your product is a polymer, and the REACH definition is different to the China definition, but if it's a polymer, you can go ahead and, assuming the monomers are on REACH, register via those monomers. So it's a fairly well-defined process. You need to appoint an only representative in the region. And again, that's fairly straightforward. But again, you should be thinking ahead about how you will approach REACH before you start in on that path. Number 4 is what I call the environmental 2-pack. First test there is biodegradability under the standardized OECD 301B, 302B tests, which will hopefully determine that your product is either readily or inherently biodegradable. There is some preference out there among some companies for a readily biodegradable product. And so again, take some time, set this up properly, and get expert advice if you can. The second part of that environmental 2-pack is the product carbon footprint, or LCA, life cycle analysis. There's no truly standardized method here. Strongly encourage you to make use of the feedstock LCAs if those are available from your suppliers. And Ideally, you would get a third party, independent third party to carry out this work. And again, be very sure that you're consistent along the supply chain from your feedstock suppliers all the way through your own process. And number 5, applications testing. Very important that you benchmark your ingredient. Let's say it's a surfactant versus standard well-known surfactants out there like SLES or alcohol ethoxylates for primary surfactants, secondaries like betanes, amphoacetates, APGs, etc. And don't forget, these are formulated products. So pick good formulations, realistic formulations that are ideally representative of products that are out there in the market right now, and make meaningful comparisons. And again, if you can get a friendly customer to give you an opinion on this before you start down this path, that's going to be extremely helpful. So thanks again for listening.